Prince Harry has just taken one of his most revealing steps yet, and it sends a clear message. He wants out. Out of California, out of the life he built with Meghan, and back into the royal fold he once so harshly criticized. The evidence? He has discreetly registered his son, Archie, at Eton, the same prestigious British school he himself once attended. But here's the striking detail. Archie still lives in California. So why secure him a spot at a school across the Atlantic years in advance? This decision is less about Archie's education and more about Harry paving a path back to the UK, using his son as the bridge. Harry rarely acts without strategy. His team ensures that whatever reaches the press is intentional, and this Eton leak is no coincidence. It mirrors the calculated media tactics behind the Netflix documentary, the Oprah interview, and the failed Spotify deal. This is publicity management at its most deliberate. What Harry is really doing here is testing the waters, floating the idea of a return to Britain to gauge public reaction. And clearly it's working. People are already talking. But the bigger story lies in what this move reveals about his life in Montecito. The Grand Mansion has become more of a prison than a palace, and the once glittering marriage seems more like a cold, transactional arrangement. By setting Archie's future in the UK, Harry appears to be carving out a path for himself, one that doesn't necessarily include Meghan. It feels less like family planning and more like an early step toward a quiet exit. And while we're on the subject, has anyone noticed the uneven way Meghan speaks about their children? Archie is rarely mentioned, while Lilibet is frequently brought up. Her likes, her quirks, even talk of future ventures together. Meghan once openly said she envisioned running a business with Lilibet one day, even though she's barely a toddler. This contrast is telling. Archie represents Harry's tie to the monarchy, the life he abandoned. Lilibet, on the other hand, is Meghan's project, her mini-me, a second chance to play the fame game on her own terms. It raises the question, is the family dynamic already fractured behind closed doors? Archie potentially serving as Harry's ticket back to royal life, while Lilibet is groomed for Meghan's vision of influence and brand building. And then there's the public relations nightmare of their Montecito life. The house Meghan proudly displayed in her Netflix series? It wasn't even theirs, just a rented property staged for the cameras. To make matters worse, that same house has been sitting on the market for years without a buyer. Why? Because no one wants a home drenched in Meghan's artificial Pinterest aesthetic and overbearing lavender touches. It's not a dream property anymore, it's a warning sign. Montecito itself has become something of a punchline. Once known as a quiet enclave for the wealthy, it's now better recognized as the epicenter of royal drama. Property values have slipped, paparazzi swarm like pests, and locals are left wishing the Sussexes would simply fade into the California haze. And maybe they will. Because while Meghan still dreams of global influence from her coastal base, Harry looks like he'd take the first flight to Heathrow if he could. His true anchor is Eton, not for academics, but for symbolism, heritage, and most importantly, a way out. The irony is glaring. Harry once said he hated Eton, claiming he never fit in, that the privileged atmosphere stifled him, and that he struggled both academically and emotionally. Yet now he's putting Archie on the same path. Why? Because it's not about Archie's well-being. It's about sending a message. Aligning Archie with Britain's elite signals to both the royal family and the public that Harry still wants to be seen as part of that world. Or at the very least, welcomed back into it. But this isn't just desperation, it's strategy. Harry is embedding himself back into the UK through his children. He knows the bridges with William and the firm are badly burned. That leaves him with one tool of leverage, Archie. By positioning Archie within the establishment, Harry effectively creates a Trojan horse, a way to keep one foot inside the palace walls, even after all the chaos he and Meghan have caused. Meanwhile, Meghan is playing her own very different game. She's already mapped out a future for Lilibet as though she were a startup brand. The vision? Build her into a personality, push her into the spotlight early, and make her part of Meghan's larger empire. Meghan has even admitted that silence is her kryptonite. She thrives on attention. And what better way to keep the spotlight than through her daughter? A daughter who, at this stage, is barely out of toddlerhood. Lilibet is still far too young to even read, yet she's already being shaped into a brand, a storyline, a symbol. That contrast says everything. Harry is looking back, toward tradition, stability, and legacy. Meghan is looking forward, toward monetization, celebrity ventures, and complete media control. One wants to return to something genuine, while the other is still chasing the glitter of fame. And caught in the middle are two children, tugged in different directions by two opposing visions of power. The idea that Harry and Meghan might be using their children as pawns may sound harsh, but the evidence is difficult to ignore. Why else would Harry insist on securing royal titles for them? Why else battle British officials to ensure Archie was recognized as a prince, especially after claiming he wanted to escape that world? You can't walk away from the monarchy and then demand its privileges. Unless, of course, you want both. The freedom of Los Angeles and the prestige of Buckingham Palace, the laid-back California life and the authority of Sir Windsor. But that isn't how the system works, and this all carries wider consequences. William is watching, and he surely recognizes Harry's move for what it is: a long game. When William takes the throne, he won't just inherit the crown, he'll inherit the fallout Harry is setting up. Archie at Eton, walking the same halls as future leaders and royals, isn't coincidence. It's infiltration. Harry knows exactly what he's doing. It's the kind of reckless strategy you expect from someone with nothing left to lose. He's accepted that his bond with William is broken. Now he's playing under a different rulebook, one shaped by bitterness and driven by Meghan's relentless appetite for attention. In her world, every stage is a spotlight, and even children are part of the performance. That's what makes this so dangerous. Eden isn't just a school in this narrative, it's a calculated signal. Harry may claim it's about Archie's education, but no one's convinced. What he really wants is to re-establish roots in Britain, rebuild a presence without groveling for forgiveness, and reshape his image through optics rather than reconciliation. Headlines, photo ops, and a child in uniform — that's his strategy. Archie becomes his foothold in Britain, while Harry positions himself for a role that doesn't depend on William, Charles, or anyone else in the palace. It's not reconciliation, it's reinvention. And that's what makes this entire situation so messy. It's no longer just a family feud, it's a geopolitical PR war, waged through court filings, school applications, and carefully timed media leaks. Harry may have lived outside the UK for years, but he resurfaces every few months with demands for meetings with King Charles, sparking headlines and shaping narratives. That recent audience at Clarence House? It wasn't a heartfelt father and son reunion. It was Harry dusting off his media playbook. One meeting paves the way for regular visits. Regular visits become justification for longer stays. Longer stays turn into claims of residency. Before long, the ex-royal is planted right back in the palace's shadow. And that's what unnerves those closest to William, because Harry isn't returning humbled. He's coming back with cameras, contracts, and two children who still carry royal blood. That makes him unpredictable. Not dangerous in a villainous sense, but dangerous because he's unbound by duty, tradition, or restraint. He's acting out of pain, and pain often fuels recklessness. Meanwhile, Meghan's control of the narrative continues to falter. Her business ventures have sputtered. Media projects have fizzled. The much-hyped lifestyle brand, with lavender jars and curated aesthetics, proved more fantasy than function. Her popularity, too, has slipped. Once, she had the chance to carve out a respected role for herself. But she aimed instead for global celebrity and ended up stuck between Hollywood aspirations and leftover royal drama. Yet despite the setbacks, Meghan is still pouring her energy into shaping Lilibet's future as though it were a Netflix pitch. You can already see it: the quotes, the branding, the staged mother-daughter storyline waiting to launch. It doesn't feel like parenting. It feels like planning. To Meghan, Lilibet isn't just her daughter. She's a vehicle for relevance, reinvention, even redemption. And that's the tragedy, because Lilibet doesn't need to be a narrative. She needs to be a child. Archie, on the other hand, is nearly invisible. When his name does surface, it's usually tied to strategic decisions: schools, titles, passports. That's Harry's territory. It almost feels as though the children have been divided like assets in a business deal. Meghan staking her ambitions on Lilibet, Harry clinging to Archie. And in the middle of this tug-of-war, the glossy image of a happy family quietly disintegrates. The royal family may not publicly comment, but they see the storm brewing. And William, most of all, understands exactly what's coming. That's the reality of what's unfolding. When William becomes king, handling a brother who stages calculated returns to Britain, appearing at elite schools and stoking media frenzy, won't just be an irritation. It will become a full-scale crisis. Harry wants a way back in, but only on terms he controls. Meghan, meanwhile, wants distance, but she'll take it with maximum headlines. And caught between them are Archie and Lilibet, two children trapped in the tug-of-war of parents who've lost their way.